So, Jeeva sanatana. Please come fast, please sit down. Wasting time. My Rajoguna is eating me up. Come fast. You know, the thing is, when you, by some chance, have touched the source of energy, sometimes you don't know what to do with it. People keep asking me, how are you running around? What's happening? I'm saying, I don't know, I'm just running around. अरे सुनील जी जल्दी आइए, एक्सरसाइज अच्छा है. Finally. So I will just read one more sloka, 7th, and then we'll have a Q&A, but don't ask too many questions, you'll be wasting time. But do ask if you feel like it. Supposed to be 11:20 to 12:15, but we came late. So we can make it 12:30. Okay. So the 7th sloka is Mamaivamsho Jeevaloke Jeeva bhutas sanatana manashashtan indriyani prakristani karshati. Sounds nice when you actually sing it. Mamaivamsho jeevaloke jeeva bhutas sanatana manashashtan indriyani prakristani karshati. See, sounds better than sing. So, Krishna says here, speaking not as Devaki Putra, but speaking as not the son of Vasudeva, but speaking as the Supreme Reality, identified with the Supreme Self, Krishna here says, Mamaivamsho Jeevaloke Jeeva Sanatana, a fragment of myself, immortal in nature, has become the embodied spirit in this world of the living, and then attracts to itself the mind and the 5 senses born of Prakriti, and then becomes a human being. Is not talking at the Krishna that you see as a personality in the Mahabharata, who also finally dies. But in here, he is speaking, established in the true essence of being as the being, not as the person. So he says a part of my, a spark of my fire, let's put it that way. We should write to Vyasa, we have to, a spark of that fire, which I am, becomes the embodied being, attracting to itself the mind and the senses. So, I think we have a Q&A, so shall I stop? Question? No? Krishna talking as complete identity with the supreme all-pervading reality, not as a person who is born of Vasudeva and then passing away. You know, in the Mahabharata also, and in the Bhagavatam, Krishna's body also dies. So he is not talking here as that Krishna. Here he is talking about himself as the supreme reality, having touched that and understood. Says, this supreme reality, which is me, a small spark of that comes to this earth as the embodied humans, embodied living beings, by gathering to itself the mind and the five senses, and becomes what we are today. So in essence, it means that if you trace your origin back from the senses to the mind and beyond, then you have gone back to the true essence, then you are that. Okay. And then, shariram yadavapnoti yachapyutkramati svara grahitvaitani samyati vayurgandha nivashaya. When he gets a new body, not astral body, when he gets a new body or abandons an old one, the spark, when he gets a new body or abandons the old one, the Jeeva, which is the spark of the divine, who is the Lord of this body, who controls everything, Lord of this body, moves. It comes out and moves, leaving the body and the mind and the senses. It moves, but the essence of what he experienced and the sensory experiences which he had, that is carried by the Jiva even after it leaves his body. How? Like the wind that carries smells from the flowers. The wind blows, the fragrance of the flowers is carried. In the same way, the seeds of the actions and the enjoyments and pains which we had is carried by this Jiva, like the breeze carrying the fragrance, because there is no other place to fix it. But it is disembodied, so where will you fix it? Kritvaitani samyati vayurgandhani vajaya, like the wind carrying the fragrances. Shrotram chakshush parshanam cha rasanam ghranam cha adhisthaya manaschayam vishayanupasevati. And in identification, while he is still alive, while the body is alive, in identification with the senses like hearing, sight, touch, taste and smell, the Jiva experiences the objects in this world. The Jiva needs these to experience the objects of the world. Now the problem is, since the Jiva enjoys these through the senses and the mind, we generally conclude that we are what is being enjoyed in the senses and the mind, and not the Jiva. Jiva is a witness to the enjoyment. That's why we are stuck. The moment you realize that the Jiva which is enjoying through the senses is not that which will be affected by sorrow, pleasure or pain. It is eternally free and is just a witness to all that is happening. Then one is free. So the next sloka is Utkramantam stitam vapi bhunjanam va gunanvitam vimudha nanu pashyanti jnana chakshusha. But the deluded, like we are so deluded, we think that we are only this little personality which is enjoying. Others are different. In this delusion, not recognizing that essence of the Jeeva, because it has been identifying with the gunas. Commit the mistake of misunderstanding the Jiva to be what is being experienced by the senses and the mind. There is a wrong identification happening. But those who have the jnana chakshu, which is the eye of wisdom, they understand that the real self, me, is only the witness which is enjoying things and is not involved in any way with it. For that to happen, the wisdom, when I say wisdom eye, it's not as if there is some big eye opening in here. It's not that. It means when the understanding opens. Jnana chakshu doesn't mean it's a figurative expression. Doesn't mean actual jnana, some chakshu there. Recently I met somebody in the United States who was trying to open his third eye with a nail. You know, like that. When the understanding comes forth, when the eye of understanding opens, then one realizes that one's true ID is that immortal Jiva, which plays its role in this world and then goes off. So, when this is understood, a person is supremely happy. And what about the yogis? Yadanto yoginischayanam pasyantyatmanyavastitam yadanto pikritatmanu nainam pashyanti chetasa. Yogis who strive, the contemplatives who are in deep meditation, through deep meditation, pursue the Atman within themselves and do not recognize anything that is defined and conditioned as themselves. They see the unconditioned self within themselves. This is the difference between a jnani and a non-jnani. Both have the Atman. One recognizes, the other does not recognize. That's all. Yattaditya gadam tejo jagadvasayate kilam yatchandramasi yachagno tat tejo vidvimamaka. The light of the sun which illumines the whole universe, which is there in the moon and also in the fire. Know that splendor to be not of the fire or the sun, but of me. Krishna says, talking from the ultimate standpoint, the sun is illumined by the essence of being. The fire that shines is from me. You know what fire is? It's not just the physical fire. It's the fire of desire. The mind understanding somewhere that there is an essence of happiness somewhere, not knowing that it is inside, wants to achieve it, which is desire. The seed of desire. I want to grow, I want to expand, I want to move, I want that, I want this. The desire for there's nothing wrong with that. If you look at it, it's actually the inner wanting to become fulfilled, Purna. And that desire for fulfillment is this called the Agni, the sacred fire, not just what you light. The fire of sacrifice, the fire of desire. You know, when you have desire, it's like a fire. People always say he's fired by the zeal to do something. Nobody says he's watered by the zeal to do something. So fire is a perfect symbol which can burn down anything. And it glows in heat. This is also the fire of ordinary desire, same thing, in a different way. What happens in college when you are very young? You suddenly find you like somebody, there's a fire inside, lit, right? You don't feel frozen like ice, you see fire burning. Also, when you meet that person after a long time, you say, old flame. You don't say old ice. So fire is a perfect symbol of desire. And the essence of desire is the desire to find the absolute. When you want to expand, people expand their world, expand the number of cars, expand the number of wives sometimes, and so on and so forth. And then to make sure that they continue into the future, they have children. So because the genes will continue, I am dead, but it is going on. And nothing wrong, I'm just saying realities, actualities. So there is this desire to reach the ultimate, to expand. Purnam, Purnamada, Purnamidam, Purnat, Purnamaduchyate, Purnasya Purnamataya, Purnameva Avashishyate. That means the Vedas say, the Upanishads say, that the supreme reality is by its very nature Purna, complete. But the good news is Purnamidam, this is also complete. That is complete, this is complete. What is complete? That spark of that Purna in us is also complete. Not knowing that, we are trying to complete it through other means. Expand. Increase. So, what is the essence of it? This seed of the desire to expand. In fact, the whole world is created from expansion. The seed of expansion. The word Brahman, the root is Bru, expand. Universe expands. And then finally goes back into the black hole, again expands. Human being expands and expands till finally we are laid to rest. All expansion is over. We are saying that there is an expansion. You are already expanded, you don't have to expand. I'm especially saying this to people who are overweight. You don't need to expand anymore, it's enough. Look at yourself, sorry, I'm joking. Look at yourself and see that the seed of that infinity is in us. We need to just figure out, turn. I mean, it's a tough thing to get there ultimately, but at least if you remind yourself, hey, wait, there's something here. Let me think about it. Then, once that is theoretically established and your mind begins to appreciate and understand this, then you start ways and means to how to touch it, which is to calm the mind and make it tranquil. There's no other way. And the whole process of sadhana is meant for that, including Kriya. I know many of you have taken Kriya and already expanded, so I don't have to say anything. But people ask me, what is the secret of you seem to be never bogged down. I mean, what is happening? So if they're joking, I usually say, oh, it's hormonal. But the fact is that if only people who took Kriya from me 10 years ago practiced regularly every day, they would have become me after some time. No, that they won't do. They will only eat food which I eat. So what? Does it make you expand? That's the pity of it. So when people say, we want Kriya, I feel very sad. I will give. Who will they practice? Okay. Now, for a few minutes, since it was announced that there is Q&A, we can have Q&A. Please put up your hand. Can I choose? Can I choose? Oh, put up your hand, of course. Oh, so many hands. Preferably on this topic. Preferably.
You need to come to the mic, please. We don't have a part this one.
Thank you for the opportunity, Guruji. Sometimes what happens that people that you work with or live with, if you're too nice, if sattva is too much in you, they start taking you as a lightly or like a doormat. So what happens, because you're in a situation, you're living a life, and you also need something from them to live this life. So after some time, there's a limit, and after that, you drop little bit sattva from yourself, and you become rajas or anything else. And there's a conflict, because that is not your true nature. And that, but because you too have to live a life, and that is why you have chosen it.
Do you?
Sorry, Guruji?
Do you have to live a life? What kind of life? Anyway, doesn't matter, leave it.
Okay. So, but the conflict is there because you didn't want that situation to arise. Now, how to deal with such conflict? And
are you married?
Yes, I'm married.
Where is your husband?
But this situation is not only related with him. Definitely, we have conflicts, and we resolve it sometime. Most of the time in better ways, sometimes yes. But I'm talking general with everybody. Thank you.
Okay. Now here are a few things to say. You're lucky because I'm a married man myself. I've gone through life. It's not that I sit in a cave. I also face such problems. It's not that I don't. But how do I handle it? That's all I can say. Maybe you can, maybe you can. One is, yeah, you're right. At times, when you say your guna is sattvic, it doesn't mean that you're some kind of a passive guy floating in the water. No. Sattva is great strength. Mahatma Gandhi said it very nicely. He said, ahimsa, or non-violence is not a passive feeling. It's a positive feeling. It's a strong, only strong people can be non-violent. The weak cannot. Points to remember. I'm not giving you an answer. I'm giving you food for thought. Think about it. Arrive at your own answer and you will find it is better than my answer. One. Second, in certain situations, you might have to hiss. You don't have to bite. You know what I mean? Yeah, there are situations when you have to be tough with somebody. I understand. But have no hatred inside. Distinguish between the two. It's the hatred that eats into your system, not the toughness. 2. 3. I'm not saying you have a problem, but if you are a married person, and usually people come to me what to do. I said, look, if you're starting your married life, both parties, please start your life with the understanding that many times I may be wrong. I may not be always right. Both sides. If you start your life with that, things are better. It is when I say I'm always right that there is a problem. Okay, I'll give you an example. Suppose you are a very spiritual person. Suppose you are meditating, you are doing this, or the husband may be one of them. And you are a worldly person. I mean, worldly meaning you're not interested in all this. Suppose. I say that you can still live together. If you understand that that is his point of view and he may be right in his own way, this is my point of view, I may be right. The moment I say he is completely wrong, tension, unnecessary. Somebody may be a filmmaker, somebody may be a doctor. Two professions are different. You can't expect them to be the same. But we can have an understanding to say that in the middle of these differences, there is some commonality. And what is the commonality? From according to me, the same divine self that sits in your heart also sits in that heart. So while you go through all these troubles, remind yourself that divinity is not exclusive to us, but with everyone. Then you can change your behavior patterns according to the need and circumstances. But when you think hatred is creeping in, remind yourself inside that also there is a spark of the divine. Think about this. I know your difficulties, I understand. I've gone through many, even dealing with Satsang Foundation is difficult. Please don't mistake me, members. I'll come back. Because one lady, one man.
Thank you, Guruji, for the opportunity. I think if you can connect Kriya to chapter 15, like you were saying, the practices really help you get there. I think it will be helpful for all of us to understand how the journey is going to happen with the practice of the Kriyas. Thank you.
It's not just the practice of the Kriya, the connection between actual practice of sadhana and the 15th chapter, which is not mentioned in detail in the Gita, because it's after all a text, like a sutra. You need to expand on it. First to remember that the first sentence itself says, urdhva-mulam adhah-sakham ashvattam. That this ashwatha tree has its roots up above and branches down below. Now, from the world point of view we were discussing. Take it to the individual. As above, so below is the principle. So let's take the human body as the world. One world. There are many worlds, right? This is one world. Don't you think so? It's a vast world inside, if you look. This is one world. Now in this world, where is the root? Who controls your body? Where is your respiration running? How is your circulation? The brain has to send some messages. The brain has to send signals. So where is the control? The root is up, not below. Is everything in the body controlled through the ass? It's controlled through the head, right? So here we have the upside down tree. Sorry. I was about to say some other thing, but because most of the world is controlled by that nowadays. Anyway, so it's controlled from here. Now, if it is controlled from here, how? I'll give you an example. When I say, I feel very nice, comfortable. What do you call the feeling of being, is there a word for it? Well-being. Yeah, I say, I'm well-being, I feel very nice. Just if you look carefully, what the brain has done, due to certain reasons, is that it has the pituitary gland, which is the master gland. Everybody knows it's the master gland. It has released a little bit of dopamine and serotonin into your bloodstream. In yoga, we have ways and means to make it do this. But for you, it happens without. And sometimes it doesn't happen. You don't know how to bring it about. Right? So, that is one example. So the control is here. Now in yogic terminology, this part is called the Sahasrara Chakra, the 1,000-petaled lotus. The entire connection from the 1,000-petal lotus down to the Mooladhara, which is at the end of the spine, at the bottom of the body, is called the Sushumna. Okay. And in between there are many such centers. So what does Kriya or any other practice? When I'm saying Kriya, I'm not talking about only the Kriya that I give. Any method is a Kriya. In yoga, Kriya is meant to be able to control the functioning of your central nervous system. You are autonomous. Autonomous is called autonomous because you are not normally controlling it. But the yogi says we can control it. The left and the right vagus nerves, which form the plexuses in front, which are very close to what we call chakras. These can be controlled. How can they be controlled? Through rhythmic breathing and various other practices. And if you look at any yogic literature, including Kriya, you will find that there is a great deal of stress on the ajna, the center here. Why? Because it is just behind that. If you go deep inside in a straight line, then there is the pineal gland. And you can touch the effect. We would normally think these ductless glands are not under our control. But the yogis say yes, you can control it. Just as they control your moods can control them back. Okay? Now, let's take the little pineal. No, I'm not talking about now. There is a lot of YouTube literature on cleaning the pineal gland, this, that, or rubbish. But I'm talking about the pineal gland. Now, the pineal gland is a small little organ, ductless, no duct, just under the pituitary, somewhere in that area, mid-brain. Going to go in. Suppose you push in from here and push in from here. When they meet, you might see the pineal gland sitting there, little fellow. Very tiny. Till 60, 80 years ago, they thought it was a useless organ. Like the vermiform appendix, it's a vestige organ, no use. Now, 50 years ago, they said, oh, no, it's a very useful organ. It has a lot of function. What is the function? It controls your, to be very doctor-like, circadian rhythm. That means the rhythm of going to sleep and waking up is controlled by the pineal gland. When you have a jet lag, the circadian rhythm is gone. What do you do then? You eat melatonin. And it comes back. What is melatonin? The same thing that is produced by the pineal gland. Right? I don't eat melatonin. I lie down and hang my head down, so that blood circulation increases in the pineal gland. And in one day I am free of jet lag. I'll travel so much, time zones. So, I thought you were going to get melatonin. No? So now they are saying that it controls the sleep cycle. Now let's look at sleep. It's very interesting. According to the Vedantic and yogic textbooks, including Sankhya, sleep is an integral part of our consciousness. We have three. We have waking, we have dream state, and we have deep sleep. It's very interesting. This particular thing is discussed in an Upanishad called the Mandukya Upanishad, which has only 12 verses. It doesn't say do this, do that. It says here is consciousness. And it was supposed to have been written, the commentary, the first commentary on the Mandukya was supposed to have been written here in Badrinath by Gaudapada, who was the grand guru of Shankara. Very interesting. So, all human beings have these states of consciousness. They're common to all. American, Spanish, Italian, German, doesn't matter. Swiss, we are all the same. We all wake up, we all go to sleep. We all have dreams, and we have deep sleep where there is no dream for a short while. Right? The Upanishad says, but there is also something which is called turiya. which is beyond these three states, but is the witness through all the three states, but is not involved in it. Turiya. So if the pineal gland is connected in some way to deep sleep, aren't there other parts which may be connected to other states of consciousness? And isn't yoga a way to operate them, bring them into operation, if they are not working now? I'm not saying that the consciousness is a chemical product, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that when this happens, then one begins to access the consciousness and understand what it is. So this is the importance of yoga, and this is how it is linked to what has been said, that the root is up above and the branch is down below.
Sir, you talked about the Ashwatha tree and the leaves down below, and if you understand the leaves, you understand the full tree. But the leaves are the Vedas. So for ordinary person, it is difficult to understand.
No.
So I wanted to know what is the crux
No,
of that.
let me make it clear what I said and what is written here. What is written here is not that the leaves are the Vedas. They're saying that the leaves are the only thing that the human being can understand, given that we have only the five senses and the mind to operate. Therefore, if there is no other way, you have to understand the Vedas only through this. Not saying you cannot understand. Vedas doesn't mean the Samhitas. Vedas mean knowledge. Veda means knowledge. So, when you say knowledge, they're not talking about the texts. They're talking about knowledge per se. How do we acquire knowledge in this world? Through seeing the things with our five senses and using that data, inputs, and analyzing and building our understanding of the object by the mind. This is what is called understanding. That is what is meant by understanding. And only through that we can understand the essence from which it has come. That is the meaning. Not that if you can't read Vedas, you can. In fact, there is a beautiful story. Sant Gyaneshwar in Maharashtra is very well known. I'm very happy to say that because he belonged to the Nath Sampradaya. See how divisive the mind is. Even after everything, there will be little bit. Yeah? So, Sant Gyaneshwar, I'm joking, there's nothing like that. Sant Gyaneshwar, his story is very interesting, that his parents, his father, after giving birth, after his wife gave birth, he ran away to take sannyas. I forget the names, but he went to a guru and took sannyas and started his training. And then he came to Alandi, to the temple, and there was a lady who was going around the tree. So when she saw the sadhu, she bowed down to him. So he blessed her, saying, "May you have all auspiciousness and be happy," and so on. She said, "How can he be happy? My husband has run away. He is now over here. He became a yogi." So he asked, "Who is this husband?" So I said, "It is the same guy who came to me." So, okay, he said, "What I say is always the truth. It cannot be untrue." He went back and told the husband, "Pack up and go back to your wife." So he came back. And Jnaneshwar and Muktabai and Nivritinath are all the children of this couple. He was a very spiritual man, of course. And so, since his father was from the Brahmin community, but then when you take sannyas and then give it up, then you are considered lower than the lowest. And since Gyaneshwar was born, nowadays people won't understand this. I'm talking about a system which was there in the olden days. So when Gyaneshwar was born, he was considered to be totally out of the structure of society. So one day the Brahmins were sitting and chanting the Vedas and having discussions. So Vedas. So this young Ganeshwar went there and he said, I'll also join this. He said, get out. You are the son of so-and-so. You are an untouchable. Get out of here. He said, but why are you so proud? They said, because we are chanting the Vedas. So apparently the story is, Ganeshwar said, even buffaloes can chant Vedas. What are you saying? The story is that he called a wayside buffalo, put his hand on the head and said, chant. And he chanted the Rig Veda. This is the story. So it is not important about, you know what I mean? Understanding is more important. So I think we'll wind up now. Okay, so we meet again at 4 o'clock.